going to look at formulas that contain fractions. Just like with equations, we want to clear the fractions out of formulas if we are solving for a specific variable. I have put up 4 different problems, and I wanted you to be able to compare them and see the difference. For all of these, we need to clear out the fraction. In the first one, our common denominator is going to be 2, so we're going to multiply on both sides by 2. What's important on this one to see is that on the right-hand side, the half BH is all one term. To be separate terms, it has to have plus or minus in between. So when you multiply by 2 on this problem, you're going to do it on the side with the A and just at the front times the half. The second problem, notice the sign in between the pieces. This makes separate terms. So you will pick your common denominator on this problem, looks like a 6, and you'll do 6 on each term. So you'll do a 6 with the first piece, and the plus starts the next term, so you'll do a 6 there and also on the other side. The third formula that we have, 2 is going to be our common denominator, and we're going to multiply on both sides by 2. On the right, this fraction is just all one piece, so you'll just do the 2 at the front. Also, this one brings in another situation. It has a capital variable and a lowercase variable. You are never going to combine these. Just treat them like an x and a y. And our fourth situation we're going to look at with a formula with a fraction is the one they're asking for is currently in the denominator. We cannot solve for it in the denominator, so we have to take it out of that denominator before we can solve for it. On our first formula, we want to solve for b. A equals a half BH. We want to isolate the b. The first thing we will do, though, is to clear out the fraction. So our common denominator is a 2. We're going to multiply on both sides by the 2. And then we'll clean up. So on the left, we're going to have 2a. On the right, these will cancel, so we'll be left with bh. Now we'll look to see. We're trying to solve for the b, so we will go on the side with the b. On the side with the b, there is also an h, so we want to get rid of the h. Notice they're side by side, so they're multiplied. To reverse a multiplication, you will divide. We're going to divide out the one that we don't want. We want the b, so we don't want the h. So we're going to divide on both sides by the h. H will cancel on this side. On the left, 2a over h equals b. We've isolated b. That was our goal. For our next formula problem, we are going to solve for x. This is the one that looks the most like an equation. So we want to isolate the x. Our first thing, though, we will clear out the fraction. So for our common denominator, we're going to need a 6. Remember, the 7 is over a 1. So 6 would work for 3 and 2. So we're going to multiply everything by a 6. You have to do both sides for this to be okay. And now we're going to clean it up. So this is really 6 over 1. On your diagonal, your 2 is going to divide out. 2 will go into 2 once and into 6 3 times. So we have 3 times 5x gives us 15x. On the next term, our 3 will go into 3 once, and into 6 it will go 2 times, and 2 times 4y will give us 8y. And this side, since there is no fraction, we will just multiply. Right, now we want to isolate the x, so go on the side with the x. Notice x is here. 15 is multiplied by the x, so we'll leave that to last. You want to divide last. Take off anything added or subtracted. So our 8y is added to the x term. We're going to take it off first. To do that, we should subtract because we want the entire piece to cancel. So keep the 15x, And this is what we have, and we're going to take 8y away. It will wipe out. Do the same thing on the other side. Clean up. So we're left with 15x equals 42 minus 8y. Now, remember which one you're trying to get to. We're trying to get to the x. So go back on the side with the x. Now you're ready to divide by 15. So we're going to divide across by 15. 15 here. With formulas, you just do it under the entire piece. On the left, these will cancel out. So we're left with x equals. On the right-hand side, you're not allowed to divide anything out there. Even though the 42 and 15 have a common factor of 3, you can't divide that out because the 3 doesn't go into 8y. So we're just going to leave that piece as 42 minus 8y over 15. Our x is isolated. That was our goal. For our next formula, we're going to solve for p. Our first thing we're going to do is clear the fraction. So our common denominator is a 2. We're going to multiply on both sides by 2. On the left, we'll just do 2 times q. And on the right, we're just going to do it at the front of that problem. So we'll clean up. And on the left, we have just 2q. On the right-hand side, our 2's canceled to leave us p minus q. Now, look back and see which one you want. We want the p. So go on the side with the p, and that means you don't want that small q. So we're going to get rid of this q. Notice the operation between it and the p. It is subtracted from the p, so to make it cancel, we need to add this small q to both sides. So on the left-hand side, this is what we had already, and we're going to add a small q. On the right-hand side, this is what we had, and we're going to add a small q. Doing that to make this one cancel. When we clean up, remember on the left, you're not allowed to put the capital and lowercase variables together. They can stay on the same side, but they cannot combine. We have isolated the p. That was our goal. For our next formula, the variable that we want, the c, is in the denominator. So first we have to get it out of the denominator. We will do that the same way we would clear a fraction. So our common denominator would be a c. We're going to multiply on both sides by c. So we'll do a c on the left. And here we will also do a c. We'll clean up. Here we're left with CP, or you could have put PC. It's the same. On the right-hand side, these will cancel to give us AB. Now we don't have a fraction anymore. Look on the side of the one you want. You want the C. So we're over here. Anything else is there you want to cancel. So we want the P to cancel out. Notice the operation between the P and the C. They're side by side, so they're multiplied. To reverse a multiplication, we're going to divide. And we're going to divide out this P. That's the part we don't want. Do it on both sides. Cancels on the left to give us C. And nothing we can do on the right side. We just leave it as a fraction. But we have solved for P, and it is no longer in the denominator. We're going to look at one more formula. This one we're going to solve for V2. And it does have a fraction to clear. When you have subscripts, you will not combine those. This is often used in science, but as far as manipulating the formula, treat it just like an x and a y. V2 and V1 will never go together. So first of all, we're going to clear the fraction. The common denominator would be a t, so we're going to multiply by t on both sides. And just at the beginning of that fraction, we will clean up. On the left, we have TA or AT, doesn't matter. On the right-hand side, that t has canceled out our denominator, so we have V2 minus V1. right? Look back to see which one you want. We want the V2. So go on the side with that one. We want V2, so that means we don't want this V1. It's subtracted from the V2, so to make it cancel, we should add a V1 to both sides. So on the left, this is what we had, TA. We're going to add a V1. On the right, this is what we had. And we'll add our V1, which will cancel. Nothing we can do on this side. They're not like terms. And on the right-hand side, we have our V2 isolated. That was our goal.